We are live. Hey, I'm excited. We have an excellent show planned for you. I'm excited because I get to introduce to the U.S. audience an excellent fellow journalist, media personality from the UK, of
Yes,
all
I do.
places. So, without further ado, Rose Blaize, welcome to the U.S. audience. But you are a long-time book interviewer, media personality, playwright, author in your own right. Please tell us
Wow.
where you are from in the UK and also what your titles of your book are.
Right. Okay, so good evening, everybody. Good evening. My name is Rose Blaize. I'm from East London in the UK, United Kingdom. I'm so happy to be here with you this evening. I am the author of two books, a two-part series called Truthingdom, about young people, for young people. And the second book is a children's book. I wanted to try a different genre. So it's a children's book called Shadow, Early Science for Young Children. My first book, just to give you a quick overview, was birthed of my experiences as a long-time seasoned social worker dealing with social welfare issues. I kind of stumbled into the presenting world, and when somebody had seen me on YouTube and asked me if I would host a book show called The Live Book Show on MediaNet TV, which I had been doing for some time and really thoroughly enjoyed, speaking to authors from all various walks of life about different genres, and mainly so Black authors, because they're probably least represented in the publishing world. And that was a wonderful, wonderful experience. I hope moving forward to be interviewing all different types of authors. Hopefully, this show is going to be more of a varied literary show where we talk to poets, authors, spoken word artists, just mix it up a bit. So, is that enough, Martin, for an intro?
That is excellent. That gives us a great lay of the land about you.
Right,
Um, I have one question from a room we do on Clubhouse when I was telling everybody about the show, and I
right.
was telling about the fact that you are in the UK and you
Mhm.
do actually earn money from being able to write plays or deal with content to
Mhm.
your area. I believe you said it's the commission or
Yeah. Yes, I do earn commission, and it really depends on the type of work I do. I also do
can you
online.
explain what the commission is?
Well, commission is money that I've earned, dependent on the work I do. So we get together, we talk about the types of collaborations I'm involved in. We talk about the type of work that I'm being asked to do, and dependent on what I'm doing, I get paid. So it's varied. It really depends on the type of work I'm doing.
You're able to do that though for your specific township or what, I forget the what do they call it there?
When you say township, you mean the different boroughs?
Yes, like you were asked for
Oh,
the borough your borough to write a play.
right, yes, and this is a totally right. Okay, so that specific issue, that specific thing was, we have Black History Month every October, and this October I was being asked to write a play for Black History Month in October, but the prep has to happen now in June to July, and once they've agreed, for example, to host my play, we will then talk about the funds needed to pay actors, to pay people who come along and sit on the panel, for possibly the venue I'm going to use. So it really does depend, but that is such a wonderful, wonderful thing. I'm actually involved in quite a few community-based issues. And one called the Community Citizens Program, where again, I'm involved in arts and crafts, different types, by a commissioning team, which is part of a governing body in the UK. And they make decisions about who they grant money to. So I often get grant money to host the different shows or plays, and indeed one of them, what I called Build a Book, which is targeted at primary schools, encouraging children to develop
Hmm.
their literacy.
That's excellent. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So I just wanted our audience, and that was a question that came from our clubhouse because it was a UK author and she was having difficulty or is having difficulty. I started telling her about the show that's going to be on Wednesday, and I didn't have all the details of the governmental liaisonship that allows you as an author or a content creator to earn money. So I know she's going to be following the show, and she's probably going to contact you like, who's this
Just
person?
to be clearer for her, it's the Citizens Assembly grants money, which is given by every London borough. So every London borough has what's called the Citizens Assembly. I know that the closing date has already passed at the end of May, but every year you have this. So every year, look out for it at the beginning of May to be able to request grants money by filling an initial application stating what it is that you want to do. However, each borough has a council of about 6 to 8 people who make decisions about what their individual boroughs need, and then they post it out to us on the net. And then we, as people coming forward, hopefully representative of the community, to make a decision about whether we can target that need in that particular borough, and then put in an application to do something.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wanted to get right into our first guest for the show.
Yes.
And let me just introduce Mr. Stephen Anthony King. He is a first-time author, but a best-selling author. Wow. And the interesting thing about Stephen for myself is that a lot of people talk about who they are and what they've been through. Stephen is not that type of guy. So to see him come out and to purposely, intentionally tell people about his 14 different eye operations he had and then put it in a book, I was blown away. I was just blown away. And then on top of that, to have Les Brown do his forward, I was just completely blown away. So welcome to the show, Brother Stephen A. King. Brother King, we're happy to have you. I'm going to step off.
How are you, my brother?
Excellent. I'm going to step off and let you and Sister Rose talk.
Hello, Queen Rose. Blessings.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
That's wonderful. Am I seeing you at this point, Stephen? I'm not sure whether to... Right, okay, yes, I am seeing you. Good evening, Brother King. Good evening.
Yes.
How are you?
How are you?
I'm very well. Really excited to have you on the show.
I love your accent, by the way.
Well, you know, I had to get it from somewhere. But thank you very much for that. I appreciate that. Your book was an enthralling read, and I wrote a little something for you just to say, an enthralling read, a journey of courage, fortitude, and strength. Tenacity of mind in determining how you rise above all of the odds, battling initially with 10 eye operations, followed by another 4 operations in recent years to save your sight. Stephen, you continue to exercise resilience in the face of adversity, leaning on your faith and belief in God Almighty to pull through. It's really good to see you.
It's really good to see you.
Well,
really good to see you.
Your divine calling to educate and teach others, a driving force to succeed as a result of perseverance, positivity, and purpose, as you have noted in your book. Well done, Stephen. I must congratulate you.
Thank you, Rose. Thank you so much for having me on. It's an honor.
Wonderful, wonderful. So when was your book actually published, Stephen?
May 12th of this year.
Wow, fresh off the press.
Fresh off the presses. We've already made Amazon's #1 new release and Amazon's #1 bestseller in several categories.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yes.
Well done. I have to congratulate you on that.
Thank you.
Stephen, let's begin by you telling us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Born and raised in Harlem, USA, New York City. I am the third and the youngest of 3 children. I was born severely nearsighted. And at the age of 7, I had my first eye surgery. I had 3 more surgeries by the time that I was 16 years old. I lost sight in my right eye shortly after college. Fast forward to 2016, I had 10 operations and only had sight in my right eye, or in my left eye, forgive me. I'm the proud father of 3 children and 1 grandbaby, and I'm a devoted husband, motivational speaker, certified relationship coach.
Oh, yes, I read.
My wife and I have an organization that Martin was extremely instrumental in helping us with called Complete Chocolate Couples. And it was created to highlight, celebrate, and really just healthy, positive relationships in the African American community. And we wanted to counter all the stereotypes, the negative stereotypes that are put on Black people in terms of relationships. We're not all baby daddies, and it's not all about baby mama drama. There are healthy relationships in our communities, and they need to be acknowledged and celebrated.
Yes. And that is so wonderful. And that is so true, because there is a significant portion that are baby daddies, as you've said, and
Correct.
single mothers. And this is what's portrayed in the press, having said all of that. A lot of the films that are out now portray this as if this is a real statistic. However, I agree with you. There are a lot of healthy couples, a lot of healthy relationships out there. So good on you. Good on you for doing that.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Could you tell us a little bit more about that, and whether this is available worldwide, or whether it's something you can do via online, or what?
Sure. Well, we started out with a meetup group on meetup.com. I don't know if Meetup is worldwide.
Yes, we have Meetup. Yes, in the UK.
Fantastic.
Red and white, right?
So we started the organization back in 2010 because my wife and I were married. We're very popular people in our own circles, but we didn't have couples that were kind of moving in the same direction that we were. So we wanted to be the change that we wanted to see. So we created a meetup where we would meet up recreationally with people. And currently we have about 500 couples, more than 500 in the organization. Obviously, COVID put a complete halt to things in 2020. But in the fall, we're going to ramp back up and have, date nights with couples, such as movie night, comedy shows, dances, things of that nature, paintball, anything that you would do on a date with your significant other, we do as couples, and it's phenomenal. The second portion, which we are going to ramp back up, is we had the original podcast, I'd like to call it. It was Blog Talk Radio. And every Sunday night, we would host a radio show, have specific guests on or experts in certain areas, and we would just dialogue about all the issues that couples go through, especially the ones that no one wants to talk about, but that needs to really talk about. We would get down and dirty with that. We do have a Facebook page for anyone who is not in our immediate area. It's called Complete Chocolate Couples, the Movement. And right now, 35,000 strong on our Facebook page. So anyone of your viewers is more than welcome to join. We'd love to have you. As well as my wife and I became certified as relationship coaches. So we actually coach couples, and our whole dynamic is based around spiritual principles. Universal spiritual principles: faith, love, trust, honesty, because our mindset is that spiritual principles, the natural byproduct of them is harmony. If I practice forgiveness with you, no matter whether I'm Black, white, Jewish, Iranian, it doesn't matter. We're going to have harmony. If I practice compassion with you, if I practice honesty with you, we're going to have harmony. And I think as human beings, that's truly at our core what we're searching for in relationships on any level: work, platonic, or romantic. So that's kind of the core of our organization, and it works really well. We don't like to consider ourselves experts in any area, but we do have a wealth of experience, both in what to do and what not to do.
Yes. I wanted to cut in to say two things. One, can you repeat the title, which people can get through to you on Facebook? That was the first thing. And secondly, can you, I'll let you answer that first, and then I'll pose the question.
Sure.
Can you say it again?
It's Complete Chocolate Couples. If you type that in Facebook, it'll pop up right away.
Wonderful. And the second question, amidst COVID, because COVID is really having a really heavy impact on people, families, communities, and couples, having the phrase cabin fever. where you spend an awful lot more time together than perhaps you ordinarily would. So under those sorts of circumstances, what would you recommend to couples in terms of just being able to ride the line?
The first thing that I would recommend, that's a great question, by the way, Rose. So the first thing that I would recommend is intentionality. You have to be intentional in keeping your relationship healthy. Whether it's reading together, spending quality time, reading books on relationships, reading books on effective communication, sitting down, turning off the television, and just having a meeting about the relationship. Where are we? Have we done anything to each other that we need to bring to the table? Because if you ignore these things, they're like bad teeth, right? If you have a toothache and you ignore it, it doesn't go away. It just gets worse.
Yeah.
And my wife and I, we have, and I'll give this away free to anyone who is interested in it. We have a daily relationship inventory. So it's a set of around 20 questions that you and your significant other would go through at night. You don't have to write them out, but it's great pillow talk right before you go to sleep. And what it does is keep the relationship at the forefront of your consciousness. Rose, you'd be surprised how many people, if you ask them the question, did you compliment your partner today?
Yeah.
They'll say no.
No, you hadn't even thought about it.
Exactly. They'll say no. Or did you say you love your partner today? Do you owe your partner an apology or an amends? Did you hurt their feelings? So these are the types of questions that when you stay on top of them and you ask yourself on a daily basis, you're just keeping track of your attitudes and behaviors in your relationship. And so today, if I answer no to I didn't compliment my wife, then more likely tomorrow it's at the forefront of my consciousness.
Yes. And Stephen, wanting to come back a bit, because you seem to be on all four cylinders in relation to, the founding of the couple's, situation. And I love that. I think that is so necessary what you're doing. But if we can come back to the title of the book, and what I found a really, really, like I said, enthralling and fascinating story, asking why was it important for you to tell the story about your, the nearsightedness and the fact that you'd gone through all of this adversity? What was, what is it that, what was important? What is it that you wanted the reader to know?
One word why I wrote the book is gratitude. And I'll share a very, very quick story.
We've lost Stephen there for a second, but no doubt he'll be back. This is technology for you. This is technology. No doubt Stephen will be back. And, a really enthralling book. I mean, it takes a lot of tenacity.
It was excellent. It was really excellent.
Personal strife, what I mean? Going through so much strife in order to become a story. Yes.
While we await Stephen, I want to make sure that we also tell our audience that thanks for tuning in. Thanks for hopefully sharing this. And we're going to be chopping up each individual author interview into shareable social media bites. So let's tell people where to follow you at on Instagram. What's your Instagram?
God. Good question. Blaize the author. Blaize the author. You'll find me on Instagram. Same with Facebook. Blaize the author, you'll find me. So please follow me there. I have other feeds, but I'm a bit of a recluse these days. I think
not anymore. You're on national. I got 25,000 people, so you about to be. That's over.
I got to step up.
Right, because this is your show. This is what you do.
This is my show. Yeah, and honestly, I'm very honored to be able to do this show. I really enjoy the opportunity to talk to various authors and, just various artists about the work that they're doing, because they do it to edify other people. They do it to teach. They do it in order to motivate other people. So I'm all about that. So, I love the idea that Stephen's here with us today talking about, what's happened with him, in terms of his eye surgeries. And it's led him to a place where ideally he just wants to talk about where he's going from here on.
Right. And so in that same lane, you know, the one thing we don't have that we can't ever get back is time. And so we're going to move on to our second author. We want everybody to check out Stephen's website. It's reallygoodtosee.com. And to make sure, we got him back. Okay, let me give Stephen hold on a second, Stephen. We're going to add you to the stream.
I apologize, folks. I don't know what happened
there. Sorry, Stephen, let me conclude by asking you, what is next? Thoroughbred, racing forward there. What is next, Stephen?
Next is to continue to get this message out, promote the book. I'm doing speaking engagements.
Right.
My message is purpose. My message is turning your pain into purpose. And we've all had painful circumstances. And sometimes we ask ourselves, why me? Why did this happen to me? Well, I'm here to let you know that your purpose is often disguised in your pain. So that's my message to the masses.
Yes. And it's a wonderful and profound message as well. So, Stephen, where can we find you? Tell us where we can find you.
That's great. My website is simple. It's reallygoodtosee.com.
Indeed.
What else would it be, right? You can email me.
Yes, lovely. And any speaking engagements coming up now? So anybody in your hometown can turn up. Anything nearby you?
Well, yes, we just finished a phenomenal event in Atlantic City. It was the Black Excellence Festival in the Atlantic City area. And upcoming on July 14th, we're going to be in Westchester at another Networking with Purpose event.
Right.
So and most importantly, August 14th.
Okay.
Myself and the great Les Brown will be on stage in New York City.
And he endorsed the book. Wow. That was a wow moment, wasn't it? Well done, honestly. And it must have been such a highlight for him to speak to your book and give a little prelude. I thought that was fantastic.
Thank you. It was a dream come true. He's one of my idols for such a long time.
Certainly. Such an absolutely wonderful motivational speaker. So, Stephen, thank you so much for being with us today. We really enjoyed having you with us, and thank you for all that you are doing to motivate our audience and those who can relate to your story. Thank you,
Rose. Appreciate you. God bless.
Wonderful meeting you.
All right. Well, this has been another episode of another author we talked to. We really appreciate being able to talk to Stephen because it's really good to see him.
Yes.
Love that.
That's the thing about collaboration. I get to meet so many different people, and that in itself is so valuable. And people really need to understand the value, even with our commentators. And when I say commentators, I'm speaking about the audience. Even where they're bringing, they're sending messages to you. They're contributing to the, to the program, to the edification of the program, and everything else. So I really appreciate all their comments as well. Can't wait to hear more. Okay, Jacqueline, I love that. And I really do relate to them individually as I see them, if I can, because without them, we won't, develop the forces necessary to develop and grow, Right,
exactly. And I think the collaboration between the U.S. and the UK, Black UK, Black America, we're forging new bonds.
Yeah, new links. We support each other to work a little smaller and certainly share all the great, talent that we have between us. And hopefully we'll branch out to other places too, Canada, the Caribbean.
Yes,
just really,
those are they're right there. They're on the agenda. Yeah. Up next, we have author Kimberly Jones, and she is the author of Wealthy Black
Before the Emancipation Proclamation of 1863. And I'm really excited. Kimberly, how are you doing?
Hello, I'm doing just well, Rose. How are you? Hi, Mark. How are you?
I am very well. I really enjoyed reading your book. And I wrote a little something, and I try to, for each author, to write a little something. So I'll read it also very quickly, Kimberly, just before you introduce yourself. So you created a pen bio of black men and women, slave and free men, who through oppression, captivity, adversity, and trials were able to utilize their God-given gifts and skills to obtain riches, building their individual wealth amidst dangerous opposition from their colonial masters. You include affirmations for courage, faith, hope, and love, whilst inciting purpose in each individual, all of which highlight the possibilities of untapped potentials today. Reviewing the intentions of our former captors, whose intention it was to disrupt the continuity of our family dynamics, culture, and spiritual renaissance, resonance, listen to me, whilst maintaining continuity of their own social, cultural, and family development, stripping away every effort from their Black counterparts to align or purpose or prosper within their own communities. So thank you again, Kimberly. I felt it was well written. I really enjoyed it. Very, very informative. So please, without further ado, Kimberly, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Yes, I'm Kimberly Jones. I'm best-selling author on Amazon, and I'm a science teacher. And so here in Lawton, Oklahoma, I live in Oklahoma. So
okay.
Yes. So it's good to see you from across the pond. So and this is my third book, and I really enjoyed it because I thought it was extremely informative and so much information that we didn't know. And it just showed you the resiliency of people when they have a determined mind to use their God-given gifts to move them forward. So I really was grateful that I even found all the information that.
Yes, you did very well. I mean, that was well researched, a lot of third-party information there. So for anybody who wants to know more, they certainly can find riches in your write-up. So I was really impressed with that. I mean, I'd written here that the book strengthened the resolve to succeed, regardless of the opposition and hindrances, to see the plan for an individual's bigger vision, dreams, and aspirations moving forward. So that's definitely what I can say about the book. So tell us a little bit more about the journey writing the book. Tell us a little bit more.
Well, the way the journey started with this piece, I was looking just at a lady by the name of Elizabeth Keckley. And yes. Elizabeth Keckley was the dressmaker for Abraham Lincoln's wife. And as I began to read her story and how she, with her gift of making dresses and gowns, she was able to save up enough money to buy her own freedom from her master. And she decided to move to Washington, D.C. And then when she moved to Washington, D.C., Abraham Lincoln's wife said, "Oh, I love what you do. Can you come work with us in the White House?" So she went to the White House to work with Mary Todd Lincoln, and they became good friends, actually, as far as exchange. And I thought to myself, well, there has to be other people who probably did the same thing. So as I began to do research, and yes, there were other people who actually were gifted enough and had enough skills that they were able to purchase their own freedom, and they moved away to a free state and opened businesses, bought land. I mean, all types of astronomical things. And the beauty of it was, for some of these individuals, I was even able to find their advertisements in 1850. I'm like, they had their advertisement in the newspaper?
No, that was wonderful, because, somebody, would talk about something that you've written. They may be able to refer to the Black Wall Street, for example, as much as it had burnt down. A lot of these businesses were burnt down, but you've kind of opened up a whole new catalog of different, people who became rich before the proclamation, which was absolutely brilliant because it's so, it's good. It makes us feel good. It makes us feel, well, actually, there were those who prospered, there were those who rose above, which was fantastic. So the other thing I read in the book that I wasn't aware of actually was the freedom bonds. Once you've been made a free man, by your masters and given papers, you then had to pay a free bonds tax once a year or something, wasn't it?
Yes, that was in Ohio. The gentleman had paid for his freedom and he moved to Ohio. Well, Ohio had these laws set up where in order to prove your freedom, you had to purchase another certificate from that particular freedom. I know, it's like a never-ending story. You go, my goodness.
So unfair. It is so unfair, you know. So I suppose in terms of you being a science teacher, are you able perhaps to utilize some of what you've done within schools, within secondary schools in America? Because I'm trying to do something similar with my book for young people in secondary schools and secondary colleges, you know, like sixth form colleges, sorry. So it sounds to me like this sort of information should certainly be shared in education somehow. I mean, have you made any attempts to try and get this out there?
Well, what I did was I created a curriculum for the book to align with the state standard, because I'm like you, this should be in every educational facility, and kids should know about, adults should know. I created a curriculum. Now, so I created a curriculum for the state of Pennsylvania. I created one for the state of Ohio, and one lady asked me if I could do one for California. So being an educator, I know how to go and look at the educational sites and create a lesson plan for the teacher if she wanted to teach that particular lesson to her students.
That is fantastic. You know, that is so good, because the main focus on the curriculum is slavery. And,
right.
and this is not enabling and, you know, making our children, you know, develop pride in themselves. I mean, we need to bring a completely different face on things. And I think what you're doing there is absolutely fantastic. And these are the things, these are the types of subject matters that we should be, you know, encouraging on the curriculum, or certainly trying to get on the curriculum. So well done for your efforts in relation to that, Kimberly.
Thank you.
So is it too obvious for me to ask you why you wrote the book, or who is that you wanted to target or influence?
Well, I wrote the book because even though I'm a science teacher, I like to research, and scientists, they love to research anyway. And so it's just in my lane to research more about my culture, my history, because I felt like it's something that everyone should know. The other thing was that if you go onto my website, blackwealthhistory.com, what you'll find was many of these individuals had statues made of them. So I called people who lived in the different states. I said, can you go take a picture next to Elizabeth Keckley's statue? Or can you go take a picture next to William Johnson's museum? Because these people were so extraordinary that the states made statues and museums and parks named after them. And so I felt like this, since they're not here to tell their story, I want to tell their story, because they so many obstacles, and that still applies today. There's so many barriers and obstacles that can be in our way, but when we read their story, we go, wait a minute, we don't have as many obstacles that they did. So
exactly. And I was thinking that when I'd read the last page, I thought, wow, what are we complaining about? We have nothing to complain about, really. We've got it easy sailing. Such easy sailing. I mean, one thing you mentioned that I think is really important to mention, and which is becoming, you know, fast the done thing, where people will collaborate. It's like you're saying to people, okay, I found out these 12 stories, for example. Will you guys go out there, if you pass a memorial or something of interest, please just take a photograph, send it to me, because that way it makes the world a little smaller, makes your research a bit easier. Certainly if it's something that you want to target or could easily utilize in line with what you're doing. So I love the fact that you mentioned that, Kimberly. Thank you so much. And I would encourage other people to do similar things. If they're researching stuff, try to collaborate. Ask, you know, people who are reading, who are working alongside you, who are, you know, listening in, or certainly tuning into your, you know, your websites and whatever else, to send you information. It's so helpful. It's so helpful.
Yes, and what happens was most people who lived in that area said they drove past it all the time. Realized it was a statue of a Black female or a Black male who made huge contributions to America. They just didn't realize that that was the statue, or it was like, oh my God, I passed the statue a million times, and I didn't know that this was the statue about this particular person.
Yeah. And so have you had any responses so far from young people, or just people saying, we didn't know this is fantastic, this is wonderful? Have you had any feedback directly from people in terms of the impact of the book?
I get it all the time. People that go, I had no idea that these people even existed. Where did you find this information? And I say that all the time, like it just opened people's eyes to show that there's a different view and a different perspective on Black history, because we're not monolithic people. We're not all, all the same. We have different gifts and talents that extraordinary that we can bring to the table, that we can monetize and help generate generational wealth. And that's what I really loved about these individuals, because when you read about their parents passed down a gift to them,
legacy,
and it kept passing down, and it helped them be the entrepreneur that they became in those areas. So I thought that was really awesome. Really.
And this is the thing, Kimberly, about history. History doesn't necessarily portray us as we really were. If people went back and read about the Moors, for example, and the influence the Moors had in terms of, European monarchy, for example, there were more Black kings and queens than people would ever realize. So your book kind of prompts people to go back in history, and they may, come across the history that we speak of in terms of the Moors and ways in which we were kings and queens, very rich, enriched kings and queens once upon a time, not just in Egypt.
Right. And that's what I would love for people to do after, you read this book. I hope it sparks an initiation to say, maybe I should research a little more. Maybe I'm not getting the full scope of what history is all about. And
who we were as a people.
Yes. And that's the legacy that we should pass down to our generation. Like, make sure you broaden and widen your lens when it comes to history, because it's not all monolithic one way. It's several different angles that you can look at history from. And so I thought this, just to me, it was just a pleasure to even, bring out the individuals who are in the book and just tell their story and hear people's shock and awe when they go, "You're kidding. No, this didn't." Yes, it did.
Maybe like me, Kimberly, I might encourage you to do, a children's version for much smaller children, so that they can learn from an early age in order to shape their understanding and future, inspirations about oneself. So maybe I can encourage you to write one for smaller children. What do you think?
Coloring book, maybe. Statues,
I think you do a wonderful book, actually. I think you do a wonderful book because you have this knowledge, so the scope is already there to just create something for smaller children. I think you would like walk in the park through that one. You do well. But I congratulate you again, Kimberly. Kimberly, tell us what's next. What's happening next for you?
Well, I just did a presentation yesterday because I have another book called Places, Faces, and Races, and it talks about how. Yes, we got the different skin color, hair color, and eye color, and the hair texture. And that interview went amazing. it wasn't an interview. That meeting went amazingly yesterday. I was shocked at the reception that the people received from that information.
Okay, so Angie's asking about the title of your other two books. So tell us, you said Places, Faces, and Races. I love that. That is so good. Yeah. And the first one I will say for Angie is Wealthy Blacks Before the Emancipation Proclamation of 1863. That's the second book. Well done. So Angie's asking, so we've got audience participation, so we mustn't leave them out. We're working collectively here to share the message. So well done, Kimberly. So can you tell us where we'll find you? Where would we find you? Give us some details.
Okay, my books are on Amazon. You can go to my Amazon. Well, you go to Amazon, you can purchase any of the books. You also can go to my website to purchase the book, BlackWealthHistory.com. And the thing about the website, I would encourage you, if you can, with your young children, because I've created an interactive map on the website. And on the map is the United States. And what I did was I put a contribution of every state and a contribution of African American made. So if you click on the map, like you click on Arizona, you will find a contribution by an African American. If you click on Alaska, you will find a contribution by an African American. That is really.
So you've already done. Kimberly, you've already done what I asked you, if it was possible to do something for smaller children. Girl, you've done it. So well done. That sounds fantastic, the interactive website. So yes. Can you tell us the website once more so that people can write down now they've grabbed their pens?
Black Wealth History is all one word, blackwealthhistory.com. And please go on there, and you will also see some of the pictures of that the people have taken by the statues in the book, because I already requested, and I'm looking for more pictures. So bring the pictures on. We want to
love it.
And then one for the interactive map. The interactive map it's amazing. I was surprised at the information I found on the map. It was great.
Wow, but it's the fact that it's been devised, the fact that it's been put together. I love that. And, the fact that people can access it. They don't have to pay a fee. Right. They can just go on your site and learn about themselves.
Yes.
Well done, Kimberly. Well done. So I'm just thinking, okay, so are you going out there to do speeches now? Are you thinking of writing another book? What's the thinking moving forward?
I'm looking forward to going out there. I'm doing speeches, and I absolutely love going out to share this information, because I loved interacting with individuals. Like, if they have questions for you now, tell them to bring them on, because I love to be able to answer their questions. So I love interacting with the people. What I would love to see, my next step is to get into the docuseries. I would love for some of these stories from the book to become like docuseries on Netflix or something like that. We can have some good visual aid. Once we're gone, we can still pass along this information, whether they get it from the book or whether they get it from the docuseries.
So we are reaching out to filmmakers right now, Kimberly.
Hey.
We're reaching out to filmmakers. And all those who are interested in, putting this on film for future generations, for easy access on popular TV series or TV platforms. Please contact myself or Martin, or certainly Kimberly on her website. Yes. Okay, so well done, Martin. I don't know if at this point, Martin, whether there's any other questions or anything that you yourself might want to add here.
Well, I did want to ask Kimberly, when she looks at the U.S. and looks at the places where the slaves were at, is there a sense that she has of certain states being more slavery, the slaves that were in slavery were more successful to navigate, like say, for instance, Texas versus Georgia, or even areas? So the Midwest and the West, slaves that were part of slavery were able to get by themselves free and become wealthy, or is it predominantly just in the South, and that's been where they've been able to migrate from?
It looks like more so. I see quite a few of them in Kentucky were able to purchase their freedom and move to Illinois, and in Virginia they were able to move the northeast region area. So a lot of them moved from Virginia up into the New Yorks and Connecticut and places like that. And Pennsylvania was a great place. Well, I shouldn't say a great place.
Right, I got you.
Some of them really thrived.
Right.
Like, there's 3 individuals from Pennsylvania. So yes, Pennsylvania.
I know that they had the railroad, the Underground Railroad, that was working quite successfully for many years. And what states were they in? Can you remember, Kimberly? Where they had the
Underground Railroad?
Yes.
The southern states, and it's mostly on the southern states, and on the east coast, like New York, they had underground railroads there in Maine and Connecticut. There were a couple of them in Maine and Connecticut, because they were trying to reach Canada. So because they would get out of the U.S. completely, so they would find routes to go to Canada.
Yes, because I know Margaret, Tuberman, we all know that name. She was pivotal in terms of, getting people to escape via underground railroads. So that's wonderful. Kimberly, continue to do the wonderful, wonderful work that you are doing, okay? Online with your, interactive, page. And certainly in terms of the continued research. And again, I would invite all of the audience to please collaborate in this way by sending information to myself and Martin, or certainly to Kimberly, and anything to promote, the work that, that she's doing at the moment. So well done to you, Kimberly.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
We'll see you in the beginning of next week.
We'll see you again, Kimberly. Thank you.
Have a pleasant day, everyone. Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Martin, that was a wonderful, wonderful show this evening. We had we gathered so much information, and I know week on week we're going to develop from strength to strength. Loved it completely.
Absolutely.
And this is the kind of thing that motivates me in terms of, sharing information, gathering information. And this is the way we come together and build a stronger community of people and a stronger and a greater understanding of who we are, why we are as a people, whether it's going through adversity like Stephen, or certainly understanding more about our past like Kimberly. So let's just keep these authors coming. Let's keep the authors coming. Spoken word artists, I certainly want.
Yes, we gotta get some poets.
Yes,
get some poets too.
Yes, I certainly want to bring on some artists from the UK, and a lot of them probably be initially artists that I have interviewed in the past, simply because of content of what they're bringing. One brings Khadija Ward brings financial status to the platform. Anita in Awe, she brings poetry, beautiful poetry. Stella Oni, crime writing, Black crime writing fiction. So there's quite a few different peoples who I'd like to bring back. And those like Stephen who'd suffered, physical, ailments and prevail. So let's keep all of this stuff coming, and we'll build this platform. And I certainly want to hear from our audience here this evening about books ideally that they'd like to hear about, or subject matters that they'd like us to tune in more and perhaps dig deeper to find out more about.
Exactly. And I want everybody to hear exactly where to follow you at on Instagram. It is Blaize, BLAIZE, the author _ So Blaize, the author _ That's where you can find Rose on Instagram. She is on LinkedIn, and we did put the LinkedIn link in LinkedIn, but we need you to add a picture. We gotta get you to add a picture. I meant to say it's Kimberly too. I know a lot of you, especially someone like you, you're in your 9 to 5 is helping young people and dealing with some crisis situations. So, but we definitely need you to, you don't have to add a lot of things to your profile, but just need you to add your picture so they know that's the Rose that was on the show. And that's the Rose is on LinkedIn. Okay, we got that.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I'm excited for, I think, the possibility that, and I hate to sound like a diplomat, but renewed relationships with the UK. But I think that the diaspora of Black folks, whether we find ourselves in the Caribbean or in Canada or in the UK, and also in Africa, I'm excited that we can bring them together.
Yes,
with your show.
Yes, no, definitely. And we want to see authors from different parts of the world, because we want to be a collective force, regardless that we're on different continents. This will enable them to come together, to share their information with other listeners and with each other. And the thinking, obviously, moving forward is that we could then work collaboratively together to develop and build, this whole thing around, literacy. Creating, how can I say, just creating stuff together, creating things, developing our creativity and sharing that with one another, so that, future generations will enjoy and obviously, hopefully be inspired by.
I think the concept of intentional creation, like the intention is to create. So we're coming together to intentionally create and to intentionally support and edify and amplify each other. So I'm excited.
Direction, purpose, vision, all of these things are so important, and it's important for our young people to understand that and to know their value, and they'll know their values through us. We are the legacy. We are the stepping stone from which they themselves can actualize.
Amen, sister. Amen.
Yes, certainly.
Amen. So we'll be back next week, same time, same channel. I'm looking forward to it. Rose, have a blessed week.
You too. And thank you to all the audience participants. Sorry if we didn't catch everybody's comments, but we really, really appreciate it. And we encourage you to speak to us each and every week moving forward. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Martin, for enabling us by being the technical person. I want to appreciate it 100%.